Good morning. It is Monday, February 23rd, 2015. This is your morning edition on I-24 News. Coming up later today, Israel's Prime Minister voices astonishment at the United States' willingness to continue nuclear talks with Iran as Kerry and Zarif meet in Geneva. Birdman takes home the biggest prize of the night as Hollywood honors its outstanding filmmakers. And later on the show, Sony's betting the house on PlayStation 4. Good morning, I'm Yael Avi, and we begin with the latest from the Iran talks being held in Geneva this week. United States Secretary of State John Kerry arrived in Geneva yesterday to meet with his Iranian counterpart, Foreign Minister Mohammad Jawad Zarif. Now, before Kerry arrived in Geneva, Zarif told Iranian state media that mid-level bilateral talks had produced good discussions, but no agreements, and some differences remained. Kerry himself did not make remarks upon his arrival, where he was first meeting members of the United States delegation before sitting down with Zarif and his Iranian counterparts. On his part, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu expressed shock yesterday that world powers continued to hold talks with Tehran in light of a recent report by the IAEA that said Iran is continuing, or was continuing, to withhold information it had agreed to hand over to the nuclear watchdog. Now, Netanyahu has also reiterated his determination to deliver a speech before both House and House of Congress, despite the opposition of the White House, on March 3rd, saying that the deal currently in the works is dangerous to Israel. Last week, the White House accused Israeli officials of leaking misleading details of the talks. Joining me in studio this morning, our I-24 News senior Middle East analyst, Ali Waqed. Ali, good morning to you. And the director of the Arms Control and Regional Security Programs at the INSS, Dr. Emily Landau. Dr. Landau, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thank you both for being here. Before we break it down, let's take a look at the following report by the I-24 News Desk about the latest from the Iran talks.
The clock is ticking rapidly for the Iranian nuclear talks, and the U.S. is now threatening to not extend the negotiations any further unless real progress is made by the time of the third self-imposed deadline, March 31st. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry and Iran's Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif joined the renewed talk in Geneva Sunday. The discussions got underway on Friday, aimed at narrowing gaps. Kerry's warning from Saturday night only emphasized the differences between the parties.
There are still significant gaps. There's still a distance to travel. And with respect to the end date that you asked about, President Obama has no inclination whatsoever to extend these talks beyond the period that has been set out, with a feeling that it is imperative to be able to come to a fundamental political outline and agreement within the time span.
World powers and Iran set the end of March as the deadline to reach a framework agreement, with 4 extra months to conclude technical work. But after the talks have missed 2 previous deadlines, the U.S. is setting new boundaries. President Obama already knows that if the talks fail, he might not be able to continue to prevent Congress from passing new sanctions against Iran. Furthermore, a recent UN report that said Tehran had stopped questionable nuclear centrifuge testing added that Iran was continuing to withhold full cooperation in 2 aspects connected to the long-running IAEA investigation. This report may also be a serious obstacle to reaching an agreement.
It is astonishing that after the IAEA published a report last week saying Iran was continuing to hide military elements of its nuclear program, the talks continue as regular. Not only are they continuing, but there is an intensive effort to reach a nuclear agreement in the coming days and weeks. This is why the upcoming month is crucial.
Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's controversial address to the U.S. Congress on the issue is also getting closer. The lack of progress in the talks may mean the Israeli leader will be welcomed with much less hostility than expected.
We're first joined via Skype from Paris by Israel Public Radio correspondent there, Gidon Kutz. Gidon, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Let's start with, what do we know? Is there any chatter behind the scenes about the talks update? What is expected today in Geneva?
Well, first you said already what we heard from the Iranian side. From the American side, the senior American official says the meeting was another step in a very long and difficult process, so no immediate results. Today, the talks between both ministers will continue, and in the same time, yesterday and today it will go on. Two newcomers to Geneva met. They are the U.S. Secretary of Energy, Ernest Moniz, and the chairman of the Iranian Atomic Commission, Ali Akbar Salehi. So there were talks about the technical aspects. Not everybody, not everything. It's stopped. So it will continue tomorrow, right. And after tomorrow, it will continue today. And tomorrow there is a meeting scheduled in Vienna between the Minister Zarif and the Director General of the IAEA, Yukiya Amano. The talks are going on. There is no immediate agreement, but they are continuing.
Now, Gideon, do we know if there is any type of attempt on the part of maybe Israeli officials in Europe to try and glean more information out of the talks, or to try and influence them as they're going on?
Let's say that Israeli officials spoke with other participants, not with the American. For instance, with French officials, and the answer of the French was that the agreement will be only when Iran will persuade the six powers that are dealing with it, the 5+1 group, that there is no chance that Iran will continue with its military program. Now, there is another catch. The American nation and the West want to arrive to a political framework agreement until March 31. Iran refuses. Iran wants a final agreement immediately, or not agreement at all, because they are afraid that a framework agreement will already force them to arrive to an agreement that they don't want to. There are many details that are still stuck in this negotiation.
Much to the dismay, I'm sure, of the Iranians, but maybe some people in the parts of the Middle East are happy about it. Gideon, thank you so much for joining us. If you can stay with us, Emily Landau, Dr. Landau from the INSS, I want to start with you. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, I mean, he took this veiled swipe at President Obama yesterday, saying that it's astonishing that nuclear negotiations, I'm quoting, are continuing with Iran, even after revelations last week that Iran continues to withhold information regarding the possible military purpose of its nuclear program. What were those revelations? I mean, who's supplying this information?
This is information that's coming from the IAEA. And in fact, it's not new. We know that there was
the same sticking points.
Yes, we know that there was a deadline that the IAEA gave Iran of the 25th of August. Iran did not meet the deadline. To answer just two of the questions on their list, Amano spoke about this at the end of October. He gave a speech at Brookings Institution explaining that Iran is not cooperating. He recently, before this report was released, made another statement, and now we see it in the official report coming from the IAEA. It's not new. What's new is giving it the attention that Prime Minister Netanyahu just gave to it. And in fact, it's puzzling because there seems to be some kind of disconnect between the political process, the P5+1 Iran political process that's been going on for the last 13 months, and the parallel process with the IAEA trying to clear up some of these questions with regard to Iran's weaponization activities. Right. And you would think that these two processes should be fused together because, of course, weaponization activities are at the heart of this negotiation.
Clear this up for us for a second. The main sticking points right now for the world versus Iran are what, in details?
Well, the main sticking points in the political process that's going on, first of all, of course, the number of centrifuges and Iran's current stockpile of low-enriched uranium, which is a vast stockpile. So there is some kind of trade-off between the numbers of centrifuges and the size of the stockpile that Iran will be allowed to keep. There's a question of course, the rate of lifting sanctions. There's a question over what's called the sunset provision. In other words, after how many years will even this deal be valid for? In other words, strangely enough, without getting any indication that Iran has actually backed away from its military aspirations, and we have to remember that this deal is only about sort of physically keeping Iran 12 months from breakout. So there's not a sense that the P5+1 are convinced that Iran has backed away from its aspirations, and yet they're talking about the fact that after 10 or 15 years, all of the restrictions that they do decide upon will be lifted, which also is quite puzzling, because if you think if nothing has changed and Iran will be, you know, continuing to enrich to low levels, obviously, because they're going to leave them with thousands of centrifuges, that's quite clear, they will be able to, after 15 years, move forward with the same, you know, deception and secret activities that they were doing beforehand.
Well, you said, you said to me off camera that, it does feel constantly for the people on the sidelines that it feels like a bad deal. Ali Waqid, I-24 News senior Middle East correspondent, joining the talks, as Gideon Kout said, in Paris for the first time. U.S. Secretary of State Ernst Munitz and Iran's nuclear chief Ali Akbar Salehi, as well as the close aide and the brother of Iranian President Hassan Rouhani Hussein Faridun. Does this signal that the talks are making any progress? That Rouhani is sending his, that Rouhani is sending his brother? Does it signal any type of progress in that respect?
Can we even know? From the Iranian that Iran deals with big significance and seriosity this round of negotiations. As Gideon Kout said, the Iranians are seeking an agreement and not a framework agreement. They are sending Saleh in order to say, let's put the details on the table. Let's go to the concrete issues and let's try to solve it. I do agree with Dr. Landa that the Iranians are managing very successfully to separate between the weapons issue and the nuclear file, like they were two different issues, and each track need to be reach an agreement upon with no relation with the other track. For the moment, they are hugely succeeding in doing this separation between the two tracks, hoping that one track will not affect the other track. I think, Yael, the Iranians are trying also to back their position with the situation on the ground, both in the region in Iraq and Syria. Of course, they are raising the issues of the Islamic State and saying that the model of the anti-Islamic State fight should be a message to the international community that Iran can be part of the solution and is not part of the problem.
Which leads me to the other question to you. Saudi Arabia has chosen to hold this week. They've chosen to hold an anti-terror regional Arab summit. And the timing-wise does signal, and I'm theorizing with you, to the West, that is Saudi Arabia trying to signal to the West that Iran is not needed in that fight? Why hold that conference just now? And what does that mean if there is a deal with Iran between the United States? World powers, but let's face it, it's the U.S. and Iran. What does that mean for Saudi Arabia?
Well, this means a very bad message from the United States vis-a-vis its allies in the Gulf and in general in the Arab Sunnite world. The priorities of the American administration is being changed from strengthening the Arab moderate countries towards the Shiite acts. We are seeing that Iran is now very much involved in what is happening in Yemen, of course, in Syria and Iraq. It's not new, and the political and regional aspirations of the Islamic Republic of Iran is not something that the United States think that it should be confronted with, and that this can be separated from the nuclear file. The Arab world see the impact and the influence of Iran deepening in the region. They are seeing that the international community is doing almost everything in order to reach an agreement on Iran nuclear file without putting limits to the aspirations of Iran, without implementing implementing any supervising plan that can guarantee that Iran will not go beyond what would be agreed upon. And this is, for the Arab world, it is clear that President Obama is so committed to the agreement that President Obama believes that there are a reformist wing in the Iranian Islamic Republic that should be supported by some tolerance of the international community. It is very interesting to see that the one who is very much skeptic about the chances of reaching an agreement is the Supreme Guide, who said that whatever we are going to do, the West will not allow Iran to be part of the nuclear club. The West will not allow Iran to fulfill its aspiration to be a significant actor in the region.
To be a significant actor in the region, although it seems like it's heading that way. And speaking of supervision, that might be the one for you. If this deal that's being discussed, and clearly all we know is open source, because, I mean, supposedly the Americans are not giving that much information to the Israelis anymore. But if this deal is signed, what type of supervision would be put in place if, you know, Iran opens up? Do we even know?
Well, this is one of the issues that's on the table. Just before I relate to that, I want to say something on the Arab states and Saudi Arabia in particular. This has been their nightmare scenario for some time now. It's not new that the Arab states fear that at the end of the day, the United States is going to make a deal with Iran that will come at their expense. I mean, this has been their underlying fear. And now I think they see that there's more evidence that this, in fact, might be where the United States is going with on this, and therefore I think we're hearing more concern coming from the Arab states because they're realizing that it could be going in that direction. So I think that's a very important point. As far as the supervision, this is one of the issues that's also on the table. The administration, the Obama administration, is trying to get across the message that there will be very strong and stringent verification measures put in place and strong inspections, and that if there is a deal, and that they will be able to, you know, identify any violation and deal with it in time. So they're actually anchoring their thinking about this deal not on, as I said before, Iran making a strategic U-turn in the nuclear realm and backing away from its military aspirations, but rather having such a strong verification mechanism that if and when Iran decides to cheat, they'll be able to take care of it. And I think this is something that should actually cause not a small degree of concern, because we know that intelligence and verification will forever be limited. Even, first of all, they have to go to the kind of verification that we call any place, any time. In other words, if they enable any facilities like Parchin, this military facility that's been a point of contention for so long, if there are facilities that are off bounds because they're so-called non-nuclear as far as Iran is concerned, this can't fly. So it has to be any place, any time. And it's not clear that that's going to happen. And even with that kind of verification, you know, there's always gaps in the information. And then even if there is information, there's interpretation of the information. Is it significant? Do we confront Iran? All of that having to be done in a very short period of time. And then the question is, in that short period of time, what really will there be left to do to effectively turn things around when Iran will have been building up its nuclear infrastructure, moving towards?
Yeah, I want to mention that for the Iranian, the work assumption is that the military intervention on the international level is excluded. They know that the American administration, the current American administration, in any way will not be involved in any military intervention, neither the European superpowers. So if there is some military scenario, it is reduced to Israel. This is one thing. The second thing is that the Iranians are amazingly succeeding to manage the internal conflict between the B+1, mainly Russia and China, and doing deals with China, watching the developments of the Russian-European controversial affair of Ukraine, and try trying to get closer and making progress with the Russian and the Chinese. And of course, this will not allow Israel to have any kind of international umbrella in case it decides to strike in
or to do so if there's a deal and decides to take matters
and that's a well-known Iranian tactic, this kind of divide and conquer. They've always tried to do that, and they are in fact doing
when
it now
the ruble
as well.
need to be strengthened.
Then you know, it's safe to say that the Russians most likely will go wherever they need to go, but the Iranians seem to, I mean, they are utilizing the fact that the world needs them right now on many aspects, and that seems to be moving along. But as we said, this is going to be going on both today and I believe also tomorrow. We'll be following it closely. Thank you all for being with me on this bit as we move along. Syria's foreign ministry blasted Turkey yesterday for its military operation Saturday night to extract soldiers stationed in Syria who were guarding the tomb of Suleiman Shah, an ancestor of the founder of the Ottoman Empire. 600 Turkish soldiers, backed by tanks, drones, and reconnaissance planes, entered Syria to safeguard the evacuation of the 40-odd troops stationed in the Turkish enclave, located 30 kilometers from the border and which has been surrounded by Islamic State forces. The operation to relieve the soldiers guarding the tomb took place as Turkey is coming under a lot of pressure from its Western allies to play a greater role in the fight against IS jihadists. The United States and Turkey on Thursday signed a deal last week to train and equip thousands of moderate Syrian rebel forces combating Islamic State militants as well as Assad's military, which of course is where the problem lies. Still with me in studio is Ali Waqid. First, though, let's watch a report on the latest from Turkey and recap it from there.
17 captured Kurdish fighters locked in cages, waiting for their death. The Islamic State's propaganda machine doesn't stop, as a new video released on the social media shows unconfirmed pictures of perhaps more victims of the extremist jihadist group. The chain around the IS neck is tightening as reports suggest that Kurdish and Iraqi troops are preparing to retake the Iraqi city of Mosul in the coming months. However, officials in Iraq say they cannot set a 0 hour for the offensive.
As you know, it is a battle, and it needs certain prerequisites to be in place first. The battle in Mosul, Fallujah, and Ramadi will be a battle in cities where there are civilians. Therefore, there must be accuracy and patience.
In the meantime, Turkey is increasing its activity against the Islamic State. Hundreds of Turkish troops in armored vehicles crossed the Syrian border in order to evacuate the historic Ottoman tomb of Suleiman Shah and the soldiers who protected it.
The decision for this mission has been taken in Ankara within the rule of law and a parliamentary motion, a state of law, and we have not sought permission or assistance from anyone for the mission.
With a new possible front in Libya, the battle against the Islamic State is widening. Now, when countries that used to sit on the fence are getting more involved, the future of the Sunni extremist group seems more uncertain than ever.
Joining us first from Turkey is I-24 News contributor Laura Wells. Laura, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Pinpointed operation, or is Turkey really looking to engage more in the fight against ISIS on its border with Syria?
Well, a lot of critics of this government in Turkey would like to see this government take on ISIS, as well as many in NATO, but I don't think that is what you're seeing. Other critics of the government here believe that this is actually giving in to ISIS. They said, this is Turkish territory legally, internationally. Why have you gone and taken our land that was surrounded by ISIS and put it into an area now that's very close to the Turkish border in Ashme, Syria, that's now surrounded by the Kurds and as well as some of the Free Syrian Army troops.
No, but the question is obviously, that I'm sure that the Syrians are not looking at it that way. And are there any, is there any chatter when it comes to the problem this may pose between Turkey and Assad in coming days?
I don't think that's going to happen either. It doesn't look like Turkey really wants to engage in the Syrian civil war at this point, although many believe that ISIS might have threatened those 38 soldiers that were guarding the tomb. They were supposed to have changed the guards, after 6 months. They last changed in March, and that would have been in the fall, and they didn't do that. There was a lot of chatter that ISIS was not allowing them to change the guards, and that is why they changed the location of the tomb. As you know, the United States and Turkey is now working on an operation to arm some Syrian rebels. Right. The United States wants to see these rebels take on ISIS, but Turkey refused. They said if they don't take on the Assad regime as well, they would not be part of this operation. So the United States has acquiesced.
Yeah, Lord, thank you. Do stay with us for the time that we have Ali Waqid in studio. When we look at the chessboard that is the Middle East, and that border is clearly very flammable. But what does this really mean? I mean, does Turkey, would you agree, as Laura says, that Turkey doesn't want to get involved too much, but do they really have a choice?
Turkey is so deeply involved in the civil war in Syria that we didn't wait this operation to take place in order to see that Turkey is involved in the Syrian civil war. Turkey is allowing everybody. Hayat Boumediene, the wife of Koulibaly, who made the Kasher attack in Paris, passed freely from Turkey to Syria. Every single person that wants to pass the borders between Turkey and Syria.
Every journalist that wants to cover Syria goes into Turkey.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is on one hand. On the other hand, the operation took place in a territory that is controlled by the Islamic State, and we did not hear about clashes that took place between the Islamic State fighters and the Turkish soldiers. There was no need for this operation because the Islamic State from a long while ago said that it will destroy the site because it goes against the
then
Muslim
why do
tradition.
this operation with drones and soldiers? Why then?
Because the Turkish want to send a message that they have interest in the region. They are sending a message that if it is needed, they will go beyond this enclave, this Turkish enclave on the Syrian soil. And it comes in a moment where the regime is marking some important points, both on the Aleppo city and also in the Golan Heights. It is a message from Turkey to its allies on the ground that Turkey will not give them up, and if it is needed, Turkey will intervene in order to support them. And it is a way to press the American, let's implement our agreement on arming the moderate rebels. For the moment, the Americans are looking who are those moderate rebels that they are going to be involved in arming and training them.
In arming and training them, but they're sending that message and also trying to take it out of the hands of any type of Kurdish forces that want to, to have that.
Yeah, exactly. This is also a message to the Kurds rebels, and we know that the Kurds are doing huge progress in that region. That Turkey will not hesitate to go inside Syria in order to fight them directly. We know that Turkey have two main fears: Assad keeping in job, and of course the Kurds trying to translate their collaboration with the international community in the fight against the Islamic
State. Some form of capital,
exactly.
For future Kurdistan, all boiling down to the point that there is no Syria left. Sadly, all the time we have Ali Waqid. Always a pleasure to have you. Laura Wells in Turkey, thank you so much. And when we get back, with 21 days left to go, we take a close look at Israel's election campaign slogans. Stay with us. First, though, some more of the morning headlines. Welcome back to the morning edition, I-24 News, the place you should be on this
February 23rd.
Thank you for saying February. I was about to say January, which is sad and pathetic. But great to be back. Yeah. Exactly. Tony Grant with us in studio for all the news you missed while scanning the headlines.
Well, you wouldn't have missed this one if you were in Israel or even outside, kind of capturing international attention.
It did, right?
Sort of the hero mayor of Jerusalem, we can say, Nir Barkat, who, this is not exactly great publicity for the city of Jerusalem, but it's good for him, because the mayor actually interceded and helped thwart what could have been a very bad terrorist attack, but it turned out to be a minor one.
I think we have footage of that, don't we? I mean, that's
just happened to be driving by when this incident, I shouldn't make light of it, was some guy was getting stabbed, so this is serious stuff. And his security detail jumped right in, literally.
Including the mayor.
Including the mayor, and there you can see it.
I mean, listen, it's an amazing incident. Supposedly it's a young Palestinian youth who was trying to stab an Israeli resident.
Some ultra-Orthodox resident of Jerusalem.
But the fact that the mayor jumps out, what better campaign slogan for his next term as Jerusalem mayor?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
So we have
I jump right in there.
I'm there to protect you, literally. Moav Vardiam, diplomatic correspondent of Channel 10 with us. He's got a second term there in Jerusalem, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's got a second term. By the way, rumor has it that he wants to be, or he got even some kind of promise from Prime Minister Netanyahu that he's going to be the minister for Jerusalem affair in the next government to be established.
You just nailed that one, didn't you?
Yeah.
Lock that in.
Lock that one in. Check.
By the way, he didn't jump. He just like he said.
He arrived.
Hey, not make it like he arrived.
Yeah.
He took the selfie.
Yeah.
Yes, and
speaking of politicians that don't exactly have things nailed down but are trying to, Hillary Clinton. The Washington Post asks, is Hillary a Big Mac or a Chipotle burrito? Now, that was... Now, they're being figurative. She's hired a lot of consultants to kind of reshape her brand image. Does she want to go upscale? Does she want to go more working class? You know, it's something that as we get kind of Obama fatigue in many quarters, a lot of interest in what Hillary's up to. So,
well, I think it's becoming fairly clear, and to us Americans around this table, I think, Tony, it's becoming fairly clear that it's going to be down to Jeb and Hillary, isn't it?
I think it's looking a lot like that. Yeah, a lot like that.
Yeah, so maybe she's the Big Mac and he's the Chipotle.
It's one great buffet of
this.
God knows what. Speaking of God and religion, Reuters has this great picture of Norwegian Muslims forming a protective ring around the synagogue in Oslo over the weekend.
That's an amazing visual.
Yeah, it really is. And of course, kind of a response to what happened in Denmark, and you could say to other things going on, unfortunately, in Europe. So yeah, I mean, very interesting to see this development.
It's beautiful to see, as banal as it may sound, an interfaith moment as such.
Yeah.
When all these horrific, attacks are happening in and around Europe and around the world.
And it's sort of like the silent majority starting to be a little bit less silent. So it's, again, it's as you said, it's great to see.
Yes.
From Libération, French newspaper, a headline which seems sort of like a no-brainer, which says Syria, source of regional chaos, as if we didn't know that. But interesting is that they show this picture of activists, I believe, outside of, I don't want to say, somewhere in Syria, protesting the Syrian civil war. So, and it's evocative of the burning, the ISIS burning of the Jordanian pilot. Very evocative. And also, the article mentions that for the first time, Iranian schools are opening up in Damascus, which is a bit of an alarming trend, it says that the Islamic State is starting to implant cells in the Lebanese cities of Tripoli and Saida. So again, it's listing all these problems that are coming from Syria, which are not getting so much play at the moment.
Whatever's left of Syria.
Whatever's left of Syria, which brings us to the next picture and story that we talked about before, the Turkish incursion across the border into Syria. The Guardian runs this fascinating picture.
Now, hello
Iwo Jima. Yeah, talk about symbolism. It is. It's pretty dramatic. If you like red, it's even more dramatic. But
no,
the
not
fact
only
that
that. Listen, we were just discussing the first half hour of the show that the operation itself, at the end of the day, many say that the Turkish soldiers around the tomb weren't in that much danger, but the operation itself was a show of force because it was a reconnaissance mission, so with drones and whatnot. It was a show of like we're here. If you mess with us, this is what we can do.
Right. Yeah. And interesting, you see, as far as the semi-official Iranian news agency has a reaction, which is basically Iran deplores Turkey's incursion in northern Syria as unjustifiable. And you have to kind of shake your head because, recently Iran has pretty much openly said that they are operating in Syria, in various theaters, areas, so to speak. So again, it just goes to show what's left of Syria and different. Now you've got Turkey jumping into the fray, which is not going to exactly,
the chessboard that's moving the boundaries and the borders.
And speaking of Turkey, men in miniskirts are showing their support for a very sad victim of a Turkish rape and subsequent homicide, which happened recently. And a lot of backlash against this. In Azerbaijan and Turkey, men have been donning skirts and sort of tweeting their social media support of this cause. And it's sort of a step in the direction of saying, hey, there's a problem with sexual violence in this country, in Turkey specifically. And it's kind of interesting to see it in the Turkish media.
It's nice that it's coming from, I have to say that it's coming from men as a type of of reaction to horrific crimes as such.
Yeah, so nice to see that. Also, I want to mention a story. Actually, this happened on Friday. International Business Times reports that the French Interior Minister Bernard Cazeneuve made a one-day trip to San Francisco. That's a long way to go for one day.
Yeah.
But he was going to meet with people from execs from Google, Facebook, and Twitter to fight online extremism, to ask them to take down material that is being used for terrorist purposes from these social media powerhouses.
Right.
And it goes to show how important this is in France's battle against jihadism, if you will. I mean, it's, again...
And I think also the fact that he's traveling to them rather than they come to him.
Exactly, how the world is turned.
Who exactly, holds the cards to anything.
And, you know, they haven't exactly, Google and Facebook, they're working, they say they're doing their part, but I think that this feeling is, the French feeling is they could do more. You know, pull a few plugs, I don't know, but interesting to see.
Yeah.
Today is a deadline for Greece to agree on a list of economic reforms ahead of this extension deal they have. In the meantime, Greeks are stashing their cash, just in case. And again, this is something that we're watching kind of day by day, what happens
listen,
here.
it's not looking good for, I mean, I don't want to say it's not, good, but it looks like it's a standoff that's about to explode in many ways.
It's something that's very tense. And, you know, of course, Germany has the upper hand, and the Eurozone countries are watching this with bated breath.
With
so
we'll
see what happens. It's time for one more in Nigeria.
Yes.
Boko Haram, as it's growing stronger. Difficult picture to see, but Nigeria prepares for a vote. There's a woman whose daughter was one of the girls kidnapped 10 months ago. Bears mentioning that only 57 of those 276 girls have actually escaped. This is, of course, going to be one of the deciding and defining issues in the election.
No, very important to mention, because I think we talk so much about ISIS, we forget that there's another,
this is their cousin, so to speak.
Exactly, they're a very close one at that, sadly. Tony, thank you so much, locked with us in studio, as always, as we move along. With less than a month to go before elections, Israel's political parties are bombarding the public with promises for a better future, mingled with doomsday scenarios about what will happen if the other guy wins. Now, with nearly a dozen parties representing the entire spectrum of ideologies vying for the voters' confidence, we'd like to take a look, an in-depth look, on this Monday series that we have leading up to the elections into the campaigns. So, to do so, we are joined in studio by Channel 10 political correspondent Moav Vardi. Moav, good morning to you. And by Noam Fur, director of the digital and advertising department at the Ben-Gurion and Alexandrovich ad firm.
Good morning.
Good morning. I managed to say that in one breath. First, though, let's take a look at the latest polling numbers. And if we're talking about this morning, here is where the numbers stand about, Moav, it's 21 days to go, correct? 21 days to elections. From Walla, Israeli Walla website, Likud standing, that's Netanyahu's party, with 24 mandates, of course, smack down the middle with the Zionist Union, that is Yitzhak Herzog and Tzipi Livni with 23, the Jewish home still high up there. Interestingly enough, Yair Lapid, that for me is at 12, and Israel Beitenu with 6. Now, let's take a look, though, at the campaign. Nothing seems to have changed. Moav, I want to start with you. Nothing seems to have changed with those numbers since elections were actually, announced in Israel. And when we're looking at campaigns, if we take a look, first of all, at the Likud, Netanyahu's street campaigns, okay? Let's start with that. What do we have from Likud? We have, the street campaign that Likud is, what is their slogan? Just the Likud, only Netanyahu. At the moment of truth, Netanyahu. It's us or them seems to be a leading, slogan for everything. And you know what? I'm going to start with Fur. Moav, don't move. Us or them seems to be the line for everybody. Does this sell? Because this seems to be a split divide in the middle for the population of Israel, isn't it?
The campaign wants to motivate voters to go vote for the right party. Benjamin Netanyahu, as well as Buji Herzog, mainly Buji Herzog, wants to say that there is close battle between them. In order voters to vote, again, for the biggest party, maybe a Likud, maybe the Zionist Union, and they want to convey the message that this is a close battle and voters should go vote.
And that's the line that conveys it?
They want to create momentum, they want to create certain dynamics in this campaign in order voters to vote.
Okay, but dynamic-wise, speaking of that dynamic, because it's so close, it's us or them. I mean, at the end of the day, Moav, this is the Bibi election, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Bibi election, but you see something interesting. Both camps attack each other personally. Like the Likud party is attacking Buji and Tzipi Livni,
right.
and the Zionist camp attacking Bibi Netanyahu. Now, the battle is not between the two blocs. I mean, Bougie Herzog is not dreaming to move Likud voters into his camp, nor Netanyahu is dreaming to move Labour voters into Likud party. The battle is within the blocks. Okay, so you attack the rival from the other bloc in order to win in your bloc. Meaning, Netanyahu wants to win votes over Jewish home of Naftali Bennett, over Lieberman, over Kahlon. So he says, it's either us, it's either me, or Tzipi Livni and Bougie. So if you care about, if you fear about Israel's security,
the parties that will form a government.
No, he says if Tzipi Livni is so dangerous, if Bougie Herzog is so dangerous for the security of Israel, then I must win. If you want me to win, give me over, not to Naftali Bennett. He's speaking not to central or left-wing voters when he's attacking Bougie and Tzipi. He's speaking to his own camp voters.
Constituency.
Yeah, constituency. In order to make them not to vote for Bennett or for Lieberman to him. The same way it goes with Bougie. He wants his constituencies not to vote for Meretz or to Lapid. So he says Bibi is bad. Bibi is the best. You have to topple Bibi down. If you want to topple Bibi, you must vote for me, not to Lapid. If you vote for Lapid, you get Bibi. Right. The same as Bibi says, if you vote for Bennett, you will get Bougie Herzog. This is the strategy.
This is the strategy, I'm assuming, for, would you agree about that?
Yeah, exactly. By the way, the right-wingers win the internet campaign selection. Yeah. They want to break the polls. They want to get the undecided voters to go vote for the right wing. In ancient Rome, the emperor used bread and circus in order to entertain people and make people...
Bread, circus, and blood.
Yeah, and it's quite difficult to bring bread, consuming the economic situation in Israel. But it's all about the circus. Benjamin Netanyahu is doing an amazing job. Bibi would, like Hollywood. We see viral videos that all the people speak about. Meretz party, who did great viral video with a Balkanic wedding, many people talked about it, that people didn't understand the message. And Benjamin Netanyahu, after seeing each one of his movies, you can understand his message. Whether it's babysitter, whether it's ISIS on the wall, ISIS on the borders.
I think that, to add on that, I think that Bibi Netanyahu is running a brilliant campaign, I think, because every day that the campaign, or the headlines of the evening news is not about cost of living, about housing problems, it works for Bibi. Now, in any scandal that you can imagine, even the Israel Prize scandal, even the housekeeper scandal, not to mention the Congress scandal with Obama.
With Obama, then the speech.
When this is what we speaking about in the studios, it means that we don't speak about the cost of living. Now imagine this Ricky Cohen from Hadera, this imaginary Yair Lapid target audience, right? She's not looking at herself. She's looking at Bibi's secrets. Yeah, so when she will start looking at herself and at her problems, then she might think that Bibi is not good enough. But the circus, as he mentioned, that goes on with housekeeper, with Congress, with Pras Israel, with everything, is doing what Bibi wants.
And it's fascinating, and we have so little time. But that's what I want to ask you, Noam. Why isn't anybody, maybe because it doesn't sell, using the cost of living in Israel as part of their campaign?
We see many guerrilla campaigns. Campaigns were not official. We've seen...
the big parties. I mean, if we can theorize, somebody like the Zionist camp saying, okay, put all of that aside, but people can't buy, cottage cheese.
No, we can see that in this election campaign, we see many viral videos, many messages, but we don't see the politicians' worldview, their own worldview, because they want us to entertain ourselves with viral videos and don't ask why we don't have breads, why we don't have house.
I think that on the left part, Lapid is trying to do so. Lapid is trying to say, I the one who took care.
Yeah, supposedly.
Supposedly to your bank account or to your housing opportunities. And Bougie Herzog, I think that he thinks that if he will raise up only cost of living issues, it might work for Lapid as well, because Lapid and Kahlon seems to be the one who take care of the social. Agenda. Now, if Bougie wants to topple Bibi, sorry for the Bibi, and then he must target.
I've got the Oscar music in my ear, sadly. Guys, no, thank you so much for being with me. When we get back, definitely the Oscars, folks. Birdman wins. We'll take a closer look at the party we didn't attend. Stay with us. First, the news. Good morning. Welcome back to I-24 News Morning Edition. Breathe, people, on this February
23rd.
Thank you very much. And on the last Sunday of February, every year, it is the last Sunday of February.
I think it's always the last Sunday,
It's always the last Sunday, right?
I think
okay. So it was the Oscars last night. They just ended, what, 3 hours ago?
No, like
they're still,
shorter than that.
Still going
I haven't
now.
slept
Yeah,
yet.
you know, I can say, I want to say that Laetitia Loani is looking exhausted because she flew in on a very special Concorde about 40 seconds ago, straight from Los Angeles, from the biggest event that, you're going to hate me for this, honey, Laetitia, that apparently Birdman was the winner of the night.
Yes.
And because of you, I finally saw it.
And?
She loved it.
No, I gotta say, good movie.
We have to remind people why we're talking about
Why we're
this.
talking about it. Okay, Oscar night. What can we show folks?
Well, we actually, you were saying that I was going to be mad at you because you were pro Boyhood.
I was pro Boyhood.
I was pro Birdman. You were not here.
I was neutral like Switzerland.
I read books.
And I won. Yes, Alejandro González Iñárritu won Best Movie, Best Director, Best Photography, Best Original Scenario.
Original script
scenario. It's
and
that's
there
in
we
French.
see
And there,
bits of Birdman, ladies and gentlemen of the press. That is
Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton.
That didn't win, and I'm very sad for that. He's like kind of reproducing what Mickey Rourke lived, like big comeback.
Big comeback, like he did, like Mickey Rourke did with The Wrestler.
Exactly,
yeah.
and then Eddie Redmayne actually won Best Actor.
For playing Stephen Hawking, but Hollywood does love actors playing people with disabilities. There, yes. I have to say,
or when or people that lose a lot of weight.
Yes,
they like that. Even though it didn't work this year for actually Nightcrawler Jake Gyllenhaal.
It wasn't even nominated.
He wasn't even nominated.
Lost
so obviously this year he didn't work.
But he looks great.
But Patricia Arquette won.
Patricia Arquette won for Boyd. I want to say something about Birdman, because I was thinking about you a lot when I saw it 2 days ago. It's very innovative, whatnot. I got to tell you though, because the whole idea about Birdman is that it's like one long take. Okay, suppose that no cuts. Okay, Hitchcock did that first in 1948.
Well, there's even in Israel, Amos Gitai did it also.
Exactly. Okay. But they didn't have Michael Keaton. They did not have Michael Keaton.
And a bird.
And a bird. And it's a film, Birdman, that actually sticks it a lot into Hollywood. You know, when you see it, there are a lot of lines there. There's a lot of commentary about Hollywood and I think the culture of celebrity and whatnot. High points of the evening. Shoot. What were the high
points of the evening? It's in the speeches. It's always in the speeches. There were some funny bits that I don't know if we already have the footage of, but Julianne Moore won Best Actress for Still Alice. And she said, I read an article that said that winning an Oscar could lead to living 5 years longer. If that's true, I'd really like to thank the Academy because my husband is younger than me. So that was pretty cute.
Wonderful, I love that. My husband is younger than me too. Yeah, and
Mexican. Iñárritu, who's Mexican, talked about Mexican immigrants into the United States. He said, "I just pray that they can be treated with the same dignity and respect as the ones who came before and built this incredible immigrant nation."
Right.
And and to close this controversy kind of area, because there was a bunch of controversy this year. Selma, who was nominated. But didn't win. It was the biggest standing ovation of the night. The film was nominated for Best Picture. It failed to secure nods for British actors David Oyelowo, and was directed by Ava DuVernay, who wasn't a winner either. In the end, it won original song by John Legend, a song called Glory. And he said when he came up on stage, we live in the most incarcerated country in the world.
Nice.
And there are more black men under correctional control today than they were under slavery in 1850.
Yeah, but before we continue, also we are joined from Los Angeles itself by I-24 News contributor Rona Moser. Rona. You look exhausted. I know you weren't there, but come on, let's fake it.
So I watched the whole thing and I am exhausted.
Exactly, and you're on your way to after parties. You're going to have one in your living room with your own bottle of champagne. But I want to...
Listen, it's raining. No after parties for me. It's raining.
It's raining, exactly. The hell with that. But High points of that year, we were talking about big speeches. Patricia Arquette used the stage to say what?
Equality for women. It was actually the night of the speeches, not so much of the winnings, because we were pretty much predicting everything, maybe except for the Michael Keaton thing. But it was really the night of the speeches of, every speech was like kind of like a stage of like, what is he calling for? What is she calling for? And Patricia Arquette with Meryl Streep and Jennifer Lopez kind of like, cheering from the crowd. Was calling for equality for women, that it's time to put women in the forefront of this battle.
Amen.
And I guess every winner had their agenda, but it was, some of the speeches were really, really moving, including the one by Graham Moore, which we were not expecting this at all, for adapted screenplay. Wow, this was all about his attempt to suicide when he was 16 because he was different. It was kind of like a very moving call to all those different, maybe gay people. It was a little unclear, but it was definitely moving, and it was definitely the night of the speeches, not so much the winning.
Not so much the winning. I think also even Neil Patrick Harris used the stage at the beginning because, as Leticia said, all this controversy about Selma, I think he came up on stage, correct me if I'm wrong, saying this is the night of the brightest and the whitest, or so, or something to that.
Yeah, it was told before, and all eyes were on Oprah because this woman is not shy with her facial expressions, so all eyes were on her during the entire thing. There's actually like an article about Oprah's expression, and she was like this and that, and she's like she wasn't happy, and that's why that song that Leticia was talking about, the John Legend and Common song, that's why it got this standing ovation, because it was really like, okay, this is all you're gonna get tonight. And yes, it wasn't a fair Oscar. I know it wasn't a fair Oscar, but it is what it is. It's Hollywood. It's a lot of politics, and it's a game. Basically, it's a game. Nobody believed that Michael Keaton is going to lose to Eddie, but he did. So at the end of the day, it's just a game. You need to play it better.
And you need to play it better. And I have to say that when I saw the only bit I saw, because we actually walked into the studio this morning while this thing was still going on. How long? By the way, how long is the broadcast? 17 hours? No, 5.5 hours or something to that effect.
With the red carpet.
It's 3.5. It's anywhere between 3.5 to 4. But then you have Lady Gaga doing all the way towards the end a tribute to Sound of the Music, which was amazing. But again, all the way towards the end, and you really just want to fall asleep. But again, that was definitely a highlight. No, it was a highlight, really. It was definitely a highlight with Julie Andrews, 50 years to Sound of the Music. That's kind of crazy.
I know, but you know what? They did an amazing tribute to Sound of Music for like 15 minutes, as Rona said, but they gave like 2 seconds to In Memoriam this year.
Right.
And they lost Robin Williams. Robin Williams died this year, as well as Mike Nichols, 2 giants and legendary giants of film. Paul Mazursky, exactly.
They forgot Joan Rivers.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you mentioned that, because there's another issue running on the internet right now. Where was Joan Rivers in that memoriam?
Yes. No. I mean, it was Joan Rivers, and why didn't Oprah stand up for her, for the love of God? But it's another thing I'm gonna.
White.
But it is a moment. It is one of those things where Hollywood loves to be Hollywood. I'm wondering out loud with everybody, and me being just the serious journalist for a second, so fake along with me. But that nobody stood on stage and said anything about the Middle East, right? It was all women's rights and.
I think you're right.
Right?
And there was this year only I think one Israeli presence in Tom Cheval for Aya for a short movie, and he didn't win. But I don't think nobody stood up.
Except indirectly with the Snowden Citizen 4 win for Best Documentary.
Right,
That's pretty darn political, and there's a link with Snowden to pretty much everything political, I think.
Yeah, no,
indirectly.
It sums it all up. First of all, Rona, we're going to say goodbye to you. Go have that drink in the kitchen to celebrate. And thank you for being with us.
Bye now.
Bye-bye. And Tony, the spiral viral that is the web review at all the Oscars, as you said, Citizens Force, Snowden wins.
Yeah, I think the cool thing about that is that people who were sort of just saw this story in the headlines over the past years or whatever are now going to go out and see this.
Right, and anybody who didn't know about Snowden,
if they were in a cave, but
he's like, yes.
Yeah, and then I think it's going to have some people, in policy-making circles a little bit nervous.
Antsy, yeah.
Antsy,
because I mean,
yeah.
and this is going to bring the film out.
Yeah, definitely.
And
it's, I think it's almost a watershed kind of moment. Although, you know, as far as the Neil Patrick Harris, of course, is mocking the whitest and brightest.
The whitest and brightest.
The headline was there already in the Hollywood Reporter.
Yeah.
The best and the whitest as opposed to the best and the brightest.
I'm surprised you didn't pick up the picture where he's wearing underwear.
Yeah, next up.
Yes,
Neil Patrick Harris in his skivvies.
In underwear. We want to see Neil Patrick Harris in underwear. Come on.
But,
yay!
Yay? I don't know. I mean, talk about the whitest and brightest.
True.
Wow. I mean, that's like white on white. Wow.
Still.
But, you know, also...
That was a statement.
Yeah.
There was a statement.
It was a statement. I don't think we necessarily needed to see it.
I don't know. I'm having fun.
Yeah, you know who I thought looked better in white was Lady Gaga.
Yes, please, Lady Gaga. Where's Lady Gaga?
And you know, I have to say, you know, she has toned it down. She's going for that classy look. She was wearing Azzedine Alaya, you know, who was of course one of the most preeminent sort of French
I gotta
fusion
tell you
designers.
something though that I caught about Lady Gaga early morning on social media is that she was part of the tribute forum, the Sound of Music,
right?
Yeah, and she did not refer to Julie Andrews as Dame Julie Andrews. So I'm just letting you know that she messed up on that front. I know you love her, but
okay, well, you know, listen,
yes.
I love the Sound of Music. Wow, I didn't know it was that many years since.
Yes, we're that
timeless.
old.
Yes, Edelweiss forever.
Leticia, the Sound of Music was a musical.
Yeah, it involved, you know, Austria, the war.
Many years ago. So
yeah,
I'll sing a little bit for you
after the show.
Please.
Some more red carpet moments. You know, we had a lot of. It was kind of a sedate kind of. You know, when we look at this, aside from Meryl Streep rocking a Lanvin pantsuit.
Look at her.
Yes, looking very Devil Wears Prada-esque, sort of, you know, no nonsense. But look at that, a lot of, you know, very pale, you know, kind of washed out kind of colors.
What's the kind of well, except for who's in red there?
Red, that is.
Rosalind Kay.
Okay, yeah.
It's always hard to wear red.
There was a deficit of red. Yeah. I mean, when you have red on a red carpet,
that's true.
It's always hard. Even though they say that wearing red, no, actually, it's the contrary. They say that wearing red is a curse.
Really?
Like
really?
If you
it's
wear
a red carpet
curse. You're not gonna win anything.
You're not gonna wear anything.
Yeah, and apparently, if you wear chopard jewelry, you win. That's what Marion Cotillard was wearing also.
Was wearing chopard, but she wore a Dior gown.
Dior gown, but chopard jewelry.
But she didn't win.
No, not this year, but last time.
When she
when she won last time.
No, and that's why I always wear chopard.
Yeah.
Yes, of course, just like now. Exactly.
And me, actually.
Exactly, and yes.
Nicole Kidman, very sedate look. Also, she was
sedate face also.
Sedate face. Wow.
Sedate, yes,
but I think a little. What is it?
What is that?
I can't really tell. It's a little sparkly, maybe a little
iridescent.
iridescent.
Like a Christmas present.
It's the aluminium foil.
But you know. Okay.
Nasty.
What do you make of Keira?
Joan Rivers. I'm
Listen, somebody has to.
Did
you see Keira Knightley in Valentino?
No, Keira.
I mean, it looked
Where
like
is Keira Knightley?
She was.
Ouch.
I don't know about writing on a dress.
What is that?
It's a pregnant woman wearing Valentino.
Is she pregnant?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She's
well, then she gets a pass. Then it's okay. Yeah. You know.
I want to talk about. Do you have Scarlett Johansson?
All right, Scarlett.
Okay.
Bring her up.
Exactly. Moment. Scarlett Johansson.
Scarlett Johansson looks amazing in green.
You liked it?
She's rocking a green
Where
Versace.
Where is Scarlett Johansson?
Yeah.
There we go. Okay. Stop for a moment,
fantastic.
everybody. Can I just say something? She just had a baby. I hate her.
Okay. Wait a second. No.
Look at that.
I love her.
She just had a baby.
She can do no wrong.
I think if it's not because you have a baby that you have to cut your hair like this.
She had the baby like 4 or 5 months ago, I think.
Exactly. That's just having a baby.
And her hubby is French.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yes. You know.
He is.
Yeah, but look, let's just face it, she's courageous with color. You know, where a lot of people did not. Forget about the form. She wore green.
I can't forget about.
She wore green on the red carpet. I mean, it's amazing stuff.
One could say that she looks a little bit like Gumby.
A little bit, yeah, not like Jane Fonda at the Grammys.
Not like the Gumby Jane Fonda.
Did you hear?
I really don't like this haircut. Really.
Well, you know, I'm a fan of updos regardless of the award ceremony. Did you hear about the celebrity gift bags with the $20,000 Audi rentals and vibrators?
Ooh.
Yes.
Stop. There were vibrators?
Gift bags.
Gift bags.
$125,000 worth each, apparently, some of these, including glamping trips, vibrators, and more for all of your celebrity B-lister needs. Yeah. Now, I haven't actually seen the gift bags in question, nor do I necessarily want to get my hand in one. But I mean, you know, let's just talk for a moment about the culture of celebrity and the commodification that it spawns in terms of merchandising. Because, you know, you get a nominee who sort of says, I endorse, you know, Audi. Yeah. And, you know, you got like, you know, a built-in advertising campaign for this product for months to come.
I mean, I don't think we'll ever get a nominee to endorse a vibrator.
I don't think so. But even the nominees were winners in terms of swag.
In terms of swag.
Yes.
Wow, sadly, all the time we have, and Leticia has to fly back to Los Angeles for all those after parties.
Ah, there you go.
So,
now, this time I'll take a boat.
No, this time I'll take a boat, exactly. Going for us. Thank you both. You know, the Oscars, the party that we didn't attend, but we love to thrash us. Stay with us, you know, before we come back. We'll have more news about Sony, PlayStation, and beer, supposedly. So, stay with us. First, the news. Welcome to I-24 News Morning Edition on this February 23rd, a place you should be because it's the only place that once a week we are blessed by the presence and the wisdom.
Whoa.
Yes, I'm building this up. Of Shai Ringel. Of the Tube magazine. I sounded very German. Of Shai Ringel.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. The Tube correspondent Shai Ringel. And by the beauty and grace of your...
Thank you.
Of Yavovich. I'm cracking myself up of the sports magazine. Shai, but brains before beauty. Go ahead.
Okay. We're talking about Sony this morning because Sony is going to become a very different company from the one we knew it.
How so?
Because Sony has decided that probably they're going to ditch the entire line of consumer product to focus only on the PlayStation. Only on the PlayStation. That's it. Sony is becoming the PlayStation company.
Nothing else but PlayStation? Are you kidding?
Look.
What, like no Sony? Oh, okay.
Sony has another side to its company beside consumer products. But when we think about Sony, we usually think about very good cameras and the television. Sony invented the Walkman. They invented the CD-ROM.
God, the Walkman.
The Walkman, the CD-ROM, the Blu-ray disc. And this was after a glorious fight with almost everybody.
And video cameras. And when you go and buy a video camera, you usually ask for the Sony first.
It's a company that was founded in 1946 and
1946?
Yeah. And when we think about Sony, we usually think about groundbreaking consumer products. And that's it. That is going to change because Sony understood that they lost every single battle. They lost the television battle when they sold their LCD division to another company. They lost the camera battle. They lost the DVD battle, of course, the CD-ROM, DVD, Blu-ray, because nobody buys that stuff. Sony had a very good revenue when everybody bought CD because on each CD you would buy, the company that would sell it to you had to pay a little stream to Sony because they are the inventors.
But does that mean that there'll be no more Sony cameras?
There'll be Sony cameras. It's probably for the next couple of years, but Sony is very much considering at canceling the Sony cameras. They do have a division that is very successful for the chip itself, for the sensor of the cameras, that they can sell to other companies. But the interesting part is that the gamers won. Sony...
No, I was about to say PlayStation 4, which, by the way, I mean, because I'm sitting with boys in the studio, you know, I actually opted not to buy my husband a PlayStation for his birthday because I need him to do the dishes once in a while. But it's this addictive, the gamers won, right? I mean, PlayStation 4 is, I don't even know what you do with those PlayStations, but still, yeah.
PlayStation 4 is a very good source of revenue for Sony, and no other company has the PlayStation. PlayStation is a very big brand, and it's an interesting story. When Sony introduced the PlayStation 20 years ago, they did it only to point at Nintendo. Nintendo didn't want to use the CD-ROM that Sony had in their console.
Alive? Nintendo's dead.
Nintendo's still alive.
Wow.
Nintendo is still selling a console. Not very successful console, but they're still selling a console and games. But Sony wanted to poke at Nintendo, so they invented the PlayStation, and now the PlayStation is the most profitable consumer product. Sony lost a lot of money on mobile devices, and that's it. It's game over.
Game over.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
A lot of gamers plays and buys a lot of games for
And what would
Sony.
be the PlayStation 4? I mean, what would be amazing about that? Do we know? I mean,
The PlayStation 4 is already out.
I know. What's amazing about that?
What's amazing? It's a new
No, I
console.
mean, look
It's
at
not
how he
the-
looked at me. That
Yeah.
PlayStation 4 is already out. What do you mean?
It's been
what?
out for more than a year. A PlayStation 4 is a very successful console for Sony. They beat Microsoft to the finish line, and it's a product that was intended only for gamers, and that strategy won big time.
Right.
And
I mean,
Sony
only for gamers, like for people like you.
Look, we're going to talk about it in a little bit because when you think about gamers, me, yeah? But 700 million people play games online, only online. That's not people who don't play. And
I play Risk online sometimes.
yeah. And gamers are huge market. They're going to be bigger than movies. It's the biggest selling entertainment.
Are they going to be bigger than movies?
Yeah. They are already bigger than movies when you think about
Gamers.
it. Gamers.
Did you know that, you have?
Video games, yeah, I don't play myself. You know, I'm not into it, and I don't want to get addicted on that. But yeah, but most people do play, I guess. And it.
Video games make more money than movies these days. It's the biggest entertainment.
No,
media
that I know.
revenue.
In Asia, it's humongous.
Clearly, I know.
Not
I
only-
know all of that. I'm trying to give you guys a hard time. It's just bigger than movies is a terrifying
Yeah,
notion. And
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, but that's the case. Anything else, darling?
We are going to talk about esports now because if we're talking about gamers, let's talk about esports and esports.
The joy of watching others play video games?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's huge. More people watched.
That's like secondary smoking.
More people watched League of Legends Championship than the
course.
Super Bowl last year. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's it.
That is upsetting.
Then we can see something about this? Okay, let's take a look, supposedly. No, we don't. We can't see anything about this. A little voice in my head confusing. Okay, but because you said the word sports, that's a beautiful segue. A beautiful segue straight to the man who doesn't play video games because I think you and I are more of the same age, but enough about my age. Yes, from the sports magazine, from the sports
Let's
desk.
go to old school sports now.
Amen.
So yeah,
Lean back, Shai.
Tomorrow there's going to be a huge game. A lot of people around the world will watch it. It's Manchester City against Barcelona. Round of 16 in the Champions League, and it seems like it's just like the biggest game and it's the most interesting game because we're talking two humongous teams. One is owned by its fans, but is sponsored by Qatar Airways, Barcelona. The other one, Manchester City, is owned by an Abu Dhabi investment firm, the people who actually rule UAE and Abu Dhabi.
That's bad.
So yeah, it's like this derby match between those Gulf states, but the whole world will be watching because we're talking the best football players in the world. On the one side, Leo Messi, Neymar, Luis Suarez. On the other side, Kun Agüero, Yaya Touré, and David Silva. And they're coming to the games. They're coming to this game in actually in opposite directions because Manchester City won 5-0 in their last game in England. Really was a concert. Barcelona, after many wins, lost to Malaga. So this is going to be very, very interesting. Now moving to another soccer topic.
Please.
Is actually a quite interesting story. A few days ago, Chelsea played in Paris against Paris Saint-Germain, and the whole world is talking about this black guy in the Paris metro. You know, this guy who just came back from work, I think wearing like a suit.
Right.
And the Chelsea fans wouldn't let him enter the metro train. They just pushed him off, pushed him off, and they started singing, "We're racist and we like it." And this story just became, you know, the footage.
Yuck.
Watching
and then
the
we're
footage.
looking at the footage. We're racist and we like it. Nice.
It became viral, and you know, Chelsea said, "Okay, we need to fight those people. They are our fans. You know, they flew to France to follow the team."
That's just awful.
Yeah.
No, but and I'm
what
wondering-
happened is that now Jose Mourinho, the Chelsea manager, said he's ashamed of those fans, and he wants to personally invite this guy and his family to the next game, Chelsea against Paris Saint-Germain in England. But this guy said, I'm not going to come. I don't want to come. He wants to see those people in jail. The
yeah,
people
can you
who pushed
blame him?
off.
Who the hell wants to? Which is something that most likely will never happen. And I'm asking you, Jonathan Reagan for the sports magazine. I always have this discussion that can you really take this is not per se hooliganism, but it is a type of hooliganism out of football in Europe, because it's part and parcel of the fan base in many ways.
In many ways, yeah. In England, what they did is they really tried to fight it in the last 20 years. After they had those huge disasters and tragedies with so many people dying out from violence. Right. And so really, racism today, if you will say a racist word in an English match, there's a very big possibility that you'll be kicked out and actually persecuted very fast. So they are fighting it. In other countries, they're not as intense, and they're not as forceful. And
case in point in France, and with all due respect to Marina, if I were treated like that as that poor man, in the subway, why would you want to be invited to a match?
Right.
I mean, seriously, yeah.
And talking from violence in soccer, let's move to a violent sport now.
Nice.
Which is boxing, and
But it's kind of like dancing also.
It is, yeah, it is. It's.
I mean, when Shai Ringel and I
violence and motion.
Violence and motion. Okay.
So boxing, we just heard 2 days ago that on May 2nd, there's going to be the biggest boxing match in years and years and years. And we're talking, actually, in boxing, it was always about the heavyweights.
Yes.
Always about the Muhammad Ali, Frazier, Mike Tyson. Yeah. But in the last few years, there's no good heavyweight fighters.
Yeah.
So the two best fighters are actually very small guys. One is 1 meter
and
73,
they're about to kiss.
welterweight. And we're talking Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao, and this is just like huge all around the world, because Manny Pacquiao is a Filipino fighter, a guy who grew up, in the dirt of the Filipinos, and he already made in his career $300 million. He's the biggest guy in the Philippines. He's revered all over Asia and across the world, and he's going to fight Floyd Mayweather, who's called Floyd Money Mayweather, who made
Mayweather is, for how long has he been around?
He's been around since '96. He's 38 years old. Manny Pacquiao is 36. Floyd Mayweather never lost a fight in his whole life, and the guy is just so big on himself, and no one can say anything because they got. Yeah.
I mean,
this is the look of death.
I can't look at it. I'm sorry. That's just like.
Yeah.
That's not it.
I need to involve Shai Ringel in this. No, this is from the game where Shai Ringel looking at. Why can't you look at it?
Look, just kiss, baby. I can't really.
No, but it sells. No, but continue, Yoav. We stopped you.
So basically, they decided to run this fight. And when you're talking about this fight, Mayweather against Pacquiao, we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars in money coming into Las Vegas. This fight will be at the MGM. The MGM sold out this huge hotel in 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Yeah, they sold out all the rooms at Vegas. And this weekend, tens of thousands of people will come into Vegas. The tickets to the fight will be as expensive as Super Bowl tickets, if not more than that. And the big money is from gambling, because so many people will gamble. And another thing, if you want to watch this fight at home, you will have to pay $90. If you want to watch it in HD, $100. And so many people are going to pay $90 to watch one fight, because this is cheap. And if you gamble on the fight, this is cheap. $90 is nothing. So this is just like two guys who are generating.
And so now the two guys are
generating so much money and interest out of 45 minutes of boxing. Just unbelievable. But those are the best, and they never fought. And the critics, the purists, say they should have fought 6 years ago when they were at their prime, because now they're a bit old, but still.
But I love it. That makes it kind of a Rocky Balboa type of film.
It is,
that makes it good.
And this fight, we will watch movies. We will watch Hollywood pictures about this fight in a few years for sure, because it's a classic, and America's just talking.
I've always wondered how much this is rigged, because there's so much money riding on it. I mean, there's so much money riding, and it is built up like a Hollywood movie.
Because this is so big. So I doubt it will be rigged, because so much money will be riding on both sides.
Yeah.
Floyd Mayweather, the black American guy, is the favorite. Manny Pacquiao is a bit smaller, but he's so quick. And it's just going to be a very interesting fight, and it's
Listen,
not just about
I'm
violence.
I'm going to explain to Sharingal for a second. It's blood and bread for the masses. It's the gladiators of you know, of the 21st century. Because you're sitting going, this is not like gaming at all.
No. But those are actually, you know, small guys. One of them is 169. The other one 172. They're not big guys. 60,
a small person,
welterweight, between 63 kilos and 67 kilos. So we're not talking big guys. And still in boxing, you know, the guys in those sizes were never interesting. People just were interested in the big guys.
You know, the one thing in life where size doesn't matter. Shocking.
Yeah, but they're strong. They're still
Nobody gets my jokes. Sorry.
We just ignored it. I'm sorry.
Okay, I was talking about size, but true, very, very true. Listen, fascinating. I want to see you back next week when I went to see who in God's name won this fight. And
no, it's going to happen in May 2nd.
Sorry, May. What am I saying?
It was just announced now, so
just announced.
We'll be talking about this fight for a while because. Just
the build-up will be immense.
The build-up will be
Are you going to pay them $100 or the $90 to watch it at home or something to that effect?
Maybe I'll go to a bar.
Maybe we'll go to a bar.
Yeah.
I think that's the way to go. Sharingal will be gaming at home. That's all the time that we have today. But, of course, do not forget to check us out on social networks, Facebook, Twitter, of course. Watch us tomorrow, iTunes Morning Edition. And let's take a look at the big winner in the Oscars tonight. This is what won Birdman, sweeping all the prizes, almost all the prizes, sorry, one of the main prizes of the Oscars 2015 that ended just several hours ago. This was it for us this morning. Have a wonderful day.
How did we end up here? This place is horrible. Smells like we had it all. You were a movie star, remember?
Who was this guy? He used to be Birdman.
I like that poster.
You wrote this adaptation?
I did, yeah.
And you're directing and starring in your adaptation. That's it.